Let's jump right in. The headline that really caught everyone's attention yesterday, May 18th, 2025.
Yeah, the news about former President Joe Biden.
Exactly. A diagnosis of an aggressive form of prostate cancer.
Right, and for this deep dive, we've looked at quite a few sources to get a handle on this.
We have. There's CNN, Washington Post, AP, BBC, an NBC News transcript from YouTube, his Wikipedia page for some background, and an analytical piece, too.
A good mix.
Yeah, so our goal here, for you listening, is basically to sift through all of that, pull out what's really important, what you need to know, without you having to read, 7 different articles.
Make sense of it all. And what really stands out from these sources is, well, it's clearly a serious diagnosis, but there are these important details, nuances that give us more context.
Definitely. Let's start with the specifics of the diagnosis itself. What do we know?
Okay, so the announcement confirmed it's an aggressive form, and critically, reports say it has metastasized.
Right, metastasized meaning it's spread beyond the prostate itself, to his bones specifically.
Exactly. And this diagnosis comes at age 82.
And there's a specific medical detail mentioned quite a bit, the Gleason score. It's a 9.
A Gleason 9, yes. Also called grade group 5. That score is really crucial.
Why is that? What does a 9 tell us?
Well, think of it like this. Pathologists look at the cancer cells under a microscope and grade how different they look from normal, healthy prostate cells. The higher the score, the more abnormal they look.
Okay.
And a higher score, like 9, strongly suggests the cancer is, well, aggressive, likely to grow and spread faster.
Got it. So definitely serious. But then there's this other detail that popped up across the reports. The cancer is hormone-sensitive.
Yes. And that's actually a potentially positive point, medically speaking.
How so? What does hormone-sensitive mean in this context?
So basically, many prostate cancers are fueled by male hormones like testosterone. Think of the cancer cells having, like, docking stations for these hormones.
Okay.
If the cancer is hormone-sensitive, it means those docking stations are active. The hormones latch on and help the cancer grow. But it also means that treatments designed to lower hormone levels or block those docking stations, hormone therapy, have a really good chance of working. They can slow it down, maybe even shrink it.
Okay. So while the Gleason 9 points to aggressiveness, the hormone sensitivity offers a specific way to potentially fight it.
Precisely. It gives doctors a clear therapeutic target.
We saw some medical context from Dr. Jamin Brahmat, a urologist. He mentioned prostate cancer is pretty common in older men, right?
Yes, he did. And often it's slow growing. He really emphasized that treatment has to be personalized. It's not one size fits all. Options include hormone therapy, but also chemo or radiation.
And that deciding on the right treatment isn't instant.
No, Dr. Brahmat suggested it could take, a few weeks to figure out the best plan, which makes sense.
And he also brought up side effects.
A really important point. Some treatments can affect memory, mood, just general quality of life, things that are, especially relevant considerations here.
Yeah, and Dr. Patel from NBC News also weighed in.
Right, the medical contributor.
She highlighted that a Gleason 9 means the cells look very abnormal, and this kind of aggressive cancer can pop up quite quickly, even if someone's getting regular screenings.
Which you'd absolutely assume a former president would be.
Of course. And she also stressed the significance of the metastasis to the bone.
Acknowledging that, yes, he'll have excellent medical care, the best available probably, but also being realistic that there will likely be, quote, rough days ahead with treatment decisions and the treatment itself.
It's a sobering reminder, isn't it? Even with top-tier care, an aggressive metastasized cancer is just inherently complex.
Exactly. The experts seem pretty aligned. Serious diagnosis, but there are treatment avenues.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, it's almost impossible to hear this news and not think about President Biden's personal connection to cancer.
Absolutely. His son, Beau Biden,
passed away from brain cancer back in 2015. A huge personal tragedy, clearly.
And you can really see the line connecting that personal experience to his public work afterwards. Things like the Cancer Moonshot Initiative.
Right, he really championed that. Pushing for more research, better treatments. It adds another poignant layer to his own diagnosis now.
It really does.
And this inevitably brings us back to the whole conversation about health transparency for public figures.
Yeah, that discussion has followed him, particularly given his age during his presidency. His health was often a topic.
So this diagnosis is bound to, reignite those debates.
For sure. There's always this tension, isn't there, between the public's interest in a leader's health, current or former, and that individual's right to privacy. It's a trippy balance.
Okay, so let's place this within the bigger picture of his career. It's been a remarkably long one.
Decades in public service. Started way back, Newcastle County Council in 1970.
Then the Senate, representing Delaware for ages 1973 to 2009.
A very long time. Chaired major committees, judiciary, foreign relations, involved in some landmark legislation over the years.
Then vice president for 8 years under Obama, 2009 to 2017.
And then, of course, president. The 46th, from 2021 to 2025.
And during that presidency, our sources remind us, he tackled some huge issues.
Definitely. The PDF overview lists quite a few. There was the ongoing COVID-19 response, vaccine rollout, the American Rescue Plan.
Major economic policies, too, like the big Infrastructure Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, trying to deal with rising costs.
Foreign policy was significant, too, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, focusing on strengthening NATO, especially with the situation in Ukraine.
And social issues, racial equity, climate change actions, attempts at student debt relief, a pretty packed agenda.
A very active term.
Yeah.
The sources also note his decision not to run again in 2024.
Right. That came after some scrutiny following a debate in June 2024. He endorsed Kamala Harris, and his term finished up in January 2025.
So he's been out of office for, what, about 4 or 5 months now when this news hits?
Something interesting that came up in the NBC transcript was about his relationships across the aisle.
Yeah, from all those years in the Senate especially. Decades building connections.
It suggests the reaction to this health news might actually be quite broad, maybe even bipartisan.
That seems likely. Given the length of his career, the sheer number of people he's worked with, you'd expect expressions of concern and support from both Democrats and Republicans.
And international leaders, too, presumably.
The NBC piece certainly hinted at that potential for a fairly unified, or at least widespread, sympathetic reaction.
And just to confirm the timeline again, his office made the announcement on May 18th, 2025. So reactions are really just starting to come in now.
Exactly. And like we touched on earlier, it's already sparking those conversations again about health transparency.
Yeah, his age, his previous health disclosures, now the serious diagnosis, it all feeds into that ongoing debate.
It forces us to think about what level of detail is appropriate? What does the public really need to know versus what remains private, even for someone who's held the highest office?
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, first, the core news. Former President Biden diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer. Importantly, it is spread to the bones.
But a key detail, it's hormone-sensitive, which offers a specific, potentially effective treatment path using hormone therapy.
Right. Medical experts stress the treatment needs careful personalization. It could take weeks to decide, and there will likely be challenges, side effects to manage.
And this all happens against the backdrop of his personal history with cancer, through his son, Beau, his advocacy like the Cancer Moonshot.
And his incredibly long political career, building relationships that might lead to fairly widespread bipartisan support or well wishes now.
So that brings us to our final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on.
Yeah, how does the health of our former leaders continue to shape public discussion, even after they've left office?
What does learning about these later life health challenges tell us about their legacies, or maybe about the intense demands of public service itself?
It really makes you think about that line, doesn't it? Between a public figure's privacy and the public's interest, long after the campaigns and the policy debates are over. Where do we draw it?